Right now, for us to create a simple server, we are going to be making use of this application middleware context. So it's just very simple, just a little bit similarity to the way we set up a server with our Express.js applications. So I just have to come here and grab this line of code, and I'm going to create a file called server. So guys, forgive me for that noise, cars just moving around. So I'm going to open that in my Visual Studio Code. I'm going to expand this a little bit so that we can see it clearly. In my Visual Studio Code, you can see the file has already been opened. I can paste that. And when I paste that, and for me to run this application, we just have to use the Deno run. Now, Deno does not just allow you to run server.ts. Actually, your application is going to crash because it's going to tell you that you need to give it a permission, which makes it a very more unique something, and it's also going to detect whether you are setting up a network access server, which is why it's telling us to run this with allow net flag. So when we run this, and also want to have access to the server.ts file, we have to grab that line of code. We have to come over here and can paste that, and also we have to allow read, which is actually going to read the file and everything inside it to set up a simple server for us. So right now when we run it, we are not going to see any error. So our application is started, and for us to make use of that, we just have to come here and we can go over to the local host 8000. So guys, sorry once more, guys just moving. So you can see the hello world simple application that we just set up coming from the Deno simple setup. So enough of the intro. We are going to go into the application we want to work on. So I'm going to go over to the utilities module. So I'm going to go to the up third-party modules over here, and right there, I think you can find it. I usually use this link to locate that. You can go over to the deno.land/x. So over here, I'm going to search for .mv because we are going to be making use of the .mv itself. We are going to be defining our tracker API and also our tracker URL inside the .mv file. So I'm going to click on that, and down there you can see how you can make use of it. So I'm just going to create a simple .env file for now. So I'm just coming here. I'll stop the server, I'll clear everything. I'll touch a .env file, a root folder project of our application. So right now I can paste this, and when I paste this, for us to make use of that in Deno, we have to definitely grab this line of code, and this line of code is wherever we want to use it. But if we want to make this to have access to all the files or all the section of our code, we just have to grab this line of code directly. So this looks more better than when we are just working directly with this config, but it all depends. I think maybe we are still going to make use of this as we progress. So but for now, let's just go ahead with this line of code and put it. So right now, let's go ahead and clear everything here and set up the server that we want. So I'm going to be importing a file called gemas. So the gemas is going to be coming from just the same folder path. I also have to define the port. I'm going to define a port called 5000. So right here, we can even assign this port to be a number, which is going to make it more unique. So if I come here and put a string, like let's say 5000, you can see here our port variable is having that squiggly red line under it. So we can also define bringing down our application that's going to come from the new application. So why you don't see this same squiggly line under is because this is already cached in my hard drive. So we can use gemas the routes, because we are going to be defining some routes inside that. Also, we can use gemas.allowed methods. So for us to know that our server is started, just like when we ran it earlier, we weren't sure that whether our server is started, but we are able to visit the link and it was able to work. So we can come here and console.log, just like the way you do on your Node.js application, console.log on port, server running on port. You can just pass that port variable. And lastly, we can just use the await once more and listen to that port. So just forget about everything you are seeing, but let's just work with our port directly. Let's not give it any controller rule or anything. So let me go ahead and create that gimmers file. So in our gimmers file is where we are going to be defining our routes. Now for this one, we are going to be working with the same thing that we brought here, but we are going to be making use of the router itself. So I'm going to clear this. I'm going to be bringing in the routes, the router, and also HTTP error. Right now, I'm not sure whether we are going to be touching the HTTP error, but it can be used to handle errors in case you have one. So right now we can now grab this line of code. Just like I said, if you want to have this .env settings globally on your files, you can just use this. But if you want to access it individually, you can use the other line of code. So let me just also grab that. And mind you, whenever you have your .env file, for you to run the application, you must make sure you allow this, allow read, and also you allow the .env file. So I'm going to close that. Now for us to make a request, but for now, let me just leave it and go ahead. So what we're gonna do now is to use the define a router. So the way we can do that is to define a variable, a constant called new router. And down here, we can set up a get a player route, which is going to get, so the name of our URL is going to be /API/version1/player. Then right here, we can set up the platform as well. We can also grab the player itself. Then it's going to give us a callback. Now the callback is just going to give us a response, just like the way you do on your Node.js application. You have the request and the response, but for this you just wrap this on a curly braces because you can use it's just a form of the structuring to grab the things that you need. So we can use that, and mind you, when you do that, you have to assign it a row or you're going to have an error. So for us to use that, we have to give this response of anything except you know what exactly that response is for us to get rid of that error. So right now you can now define our route properties that we want to work on. So let me go ahead and add every other thing we need to add. So whenever we are making a request to platform/player, we are going to be sending two things. That's the platform/player. That's whenever we are making a request to API version 1 player, we are going to be sending these two things together. So for us to grab that, we need to come over to where this response is. We can we can bring down the params, and also we can give it a rule that the params actually is an object that's going to be accepting a string. So the first one is going to be accepting is the platform. Let me just bring this down so that it doesn't cross the screen. It's going to be accepting a platform, which is just going to be a string, and also it's going to be accepting the player, which is also a string. I think, okay, sorry guys, I'm not supposed to wrap these on a quotes. So that's how we can actually do that. So we can format that for it to look more neater with prettier. So whenever we grab those links, we can now pass those things, those params, the platform and as well the player. We can use the structuring to grab it from the params. So right now, let's define our URL, and our URL is going to be coming from the .env. So for us to have access to the .env, we can just follow the documentation. So the documentation says that you just use the config, and the config itself is going to grab everything in the .env file. Then you can reference to the one we are making use of. So when I copy this line of code, why you see save here is because it says if any of the defined variable is not in the env, an error will occur because you have this saved to true. This method is preferred because it prevents one-time error in a production environment due to improper configuration, which is actually cool in case that you made a mistake when you want to grab the key of each of your values. You are going to have your application crash, which is really a nice idea. But for now, let's just put this here. I'm not going to use save because we are not working for a production thing. So in this one, we are going to be setting what we call tracker API URL. So I'm going to set it down shortly. So it's going to be accepting the platform. So why am I doing a mistake? I think the platform comes from here. I think I wrap this a lot. Just gonna be stopping here. So guys, sorry for all these delays. I think my keyboard switched to Turkish. Oh no. So I switched on my caps, which does not really work fine with Vim. So I'm going to start afresh and do that again. So right here we are working with the config, which is going to be grabbing the tracker API URL. Then we can now bring in our platform, and also we can bring in our player. So quickly, for me to continue, let me just go over to tracker.gg and show you how I constructed this URL and also grab the things that we need. So I'm going to go over to tracker.gg. I'm going to come over to developers, apps, dashboard. I'm going to go into my apps. So in my apps, they give me this as my API key. So I'm going to grab that in my .env file. I'm going to create a file, a key holder called trn, or let me just name this one tracker API key, because this is the API key that we are working with for our headers. And lastly, for us to make use of the links in our application, we go over to documentation, authentication. Then this is how we are going to be setting up the header. But for the links, I'm constructing the links to be like this. So that's exactly what you see me doing. So I'm going to grab that, but I'm going to grab from this profile. I'm going to come here once more, and we're just going to paste this as tracker API URL. So just be mindful of that anytime you are setting up your .env, and any little mistake you make, you are going to regret that. So just be mindful of everything, because you don't want your app to crash when you want to run an application. So don't mind you are still having this little error over here. I guess it's because we've not run the application, so it has not really cached in my hard drive. So don't mind it for now. So you can see here, I grabbed the tracker API URL. So right now, let me go ahead and make a simple request to this route for us to see what we have. So I'm just going to console.log URL. So guys, this is just like a crash course. I'm just trying to take it as easy as much as possible so that I can have a better understanding of everything we are doing step by step. One more thing that I forgot to do is that we must export this for us to make use of this route. So beneath here, I'm just going to use module.export. We can export the router. Right here is saying we have a simple error, and that's because we need to wrap this in one more curly brace, and then we can format that. So it says we are supposed to export this. Oh, sorry, it does not use module. It uses default exe export method, which is just going to export the router. And that's really cool about that. So let's go over and run our application. So right now, when we run our application, if it happens to run properly, we have to see the console.log about that. So it says permission denied. because we must use the allow read flag. So I'm going to run this with the allow read flag. It says permission denied. Okay, the allow env as well, we didn't add that because we are making use of the env itself. So I'm just going to allow env. So you can see that my application has started, and this is giving us a warning because we are making use of well, it all depends on not from my side or from anyone's side. It all depends on the updates that we get from Deno, because I tried both of these and it worked fine. So we don't really have an issue with that, but let's just wait to see the upcoming updates that's going to tell us the proper way of doing this, so that we don't get this warning every time we want to run our application. So I open my Postman, and these are some couple of requests I made when I was working on this application. I'm going to clear that. So just give it a couple of seconds. I'm gonna play that, and we are making a request to I think it's the same link. Let's just kind of make that request and check our console. So right now you can see that in our console we have exactly the URL that we constructed from tracker.gg. So tracker.gg says that we can construct that. Let me just scroll this down a little bit. We can construct that URL to have this profile, the user, and also the platform, and also the user, and that's exactly what we did here. You can see the platform and also the user, so that we can be able to track that user. So you can see that our application is working properly. So let's just go back and continue. So for us to now make use of all these things that we've defined, now for us to make a request to tracker.gg, because when we are trying to grab this, we are going to make a request to tracker.gg. So guys, I'm just taking it gradually because I really want you to understand how Deno works. So do not forget to hit the like button and also the subscribe button while you're watching the video. So we are going to be constructing an API request method for us to make a request to tracker.gg. So for us to do that, you need to come over to Deno. Now go over to not at the standard class itself. No, you don't want to go there. You want to come over here to the third-party modules. So you want to search for KY. Now KY allows you to make a request to other website that you want to grab something from. You can actually use what they call API. So they also have what they call API. So that's exactly what you see here, but I'm not going to make use of this because I'm still here to come on this. So they give a little bit brief of examples and explanatory examples that you can actually use. Well, for now, let's just go ahead with KY. Maybe in one of my videos, I'm going to drop that so that you can know how you can make a request with KY. So in the KY, you can install it as a node package module, but for Deno itself, you are gonna use this from the URL. So you're gonna use it directly, and for you to make use of it, down here they give us a lot of examples of how you can make use of it, and it's kind of pretty cool because you can really append to a URL, and you can also make double requests, which kind of looks really cool. So that's exactly what we're using, and at the top here I'm gonna import that and paste that. So let's go down. So you can define the number of retries. You can also define some things that will happen whenever our application wants to make a request, just appending headers. And that's exactly what we are going to be doing in this part of the video. So we are going to be injecting something into the header, and what we are going to be injecting into the header is going to come from this section. That's the TRN API key. So that's what we are going to be injecting into the header. You just have to set this, then you can make use of the key that we put in the environmental variable. So let me just grab this line of code. So there are some couple of the other things you can add, especially when, let's say, your app crashed or your app couldn't make a request, and you can even as well make a request before you can also make a request you are requesting. That means that you can make a request on a request. So I don't really know how to explain that, but I hope you really get what I'm saying. So these are some cool examples. So let's just go ahead, and down here I can now get rid of this and paste that. So it's just gonna be giving us this squiggly red line. For us to get rid of that, since the headers come from request, we can get rid of request, and here we can bring the headers, and you must define the type of headers. So I'm just gonna give it any type. So we can now set our header to what. So guys, sorry, I have a little distraction. TRN API key. So we can just config dot. So here we are setting the tracker API key. So in the tracker API key is coming from our environmental variable. That's exactly this key. So when I'm done, I'm going to delete this key so that you can go over to tracker.gg and grab your own key. Now at the bottom part of this code, we just have to use the try catch. So the try catch is going to require us to bring in the assign at the top here, because right now we are not at the outer level, we are inside a route itself. So because we are going to be returning a promise, we want to be able to catch errors and also convert the promise return into a JSON and have access to the right data, because we are going to be returning a promise whenever we make a request. So I'm just going to put a try catch. Now in the try block itself, let me format that properly. Okay, it's not going to work because I still have something I have to do here. So in this block, we want to get a user. So the user is going to be coming from so here it's going to accept the URL, and whenever you're working with KY, there are some things you can actually grab. You can get the signal. So the signal is going to be coming from the top, because we have to import the signal. The signal actually comes from the controller. So they don't have something called controller. So it's just going to be a new about controller. Now we can grab signal from the controller, because you cannot catch error directly without KY. So you have to use your signal. So your signal is exactly what I'm referring to here. So we have to use that, and also this is going to return a JSON for us. So that's how we can grab the user. Now if we have any error, so we can say if error.name is equal to abort. Let's say you aborted. So the way we can abort, I'm still going to show you that in a couple of seconds. So we just have to set a response.status. For the abort is going to be 103. Then we can set a response.body to be request aborted. Then if it's not a request abort, you can just give it a response to status. Of course, the response abort is, let's say that the code or the request was not able to make a proper request to wherever you are sending it to. So you really need to abort that after some couple of seconds or after some couple of minutes. So for us to make use of that abort controller properly, we just have to come at the top here. We have to set what is called set timeout. So if you're familiar with this, so this set timeout, we want it to abort every 5 seconds that the request did not work properly. So you're just going to abort. So that's how we can set up the abort. So if the request happened to abort, then we can get back this response. But in case the request did not abort and the user is not found, it's now going to send this 404 not found for us. So before we go ahead and run our application to make sure it's working, I check the word here. It's supposed to be a get request, and also we have to send back that user in case the request was successful. So we can say response.body Now we can just save that. Then right here, I can just clear this, run this once more. Then in our application, we can now make a request. So if the user happens to exist, we should get back the user. So right now you can see we have that user that we just sent. So we send the SPL, that's the export, and also we got back the MK47 user stats. So that's how we can make an API request or also a GET request with Deno, and that's how we can set up the abort, the request not found. So let's just make a request with a user that does not exist. So if the user happens not to be existing, we are going to get back this value you see here, not found. Then in your application, you can use it to make whatever you want to make.